Where do you stand on the CMC kind of argument?
He's number one all time among running backs and PPR points per game. I'm going to keep drafting the dude in round one, man. It's one of these. Yeah. Jonathan Taylor has missed more games the last 3 years than Christian McCaffrey. And I know that there's a difference in age and stuff like that, but there's a difference between being injury prone and actively injured. As long as CMC isn't entering the season with a big problem, man, then I'm just going to be, trusting with that guy.
What is going on, Sharp Football family? Is your resident Swami of Konami, Rich Hribar, and we are here post 4th of July, not quite to training camp yet, but it is football season. And it is, if you're going to get ready for football season, then you already know the best way to do that is with Warren Sharp's 2025 preview book. Warren, myself, Ray Summerlin, Joe Gibbs, Curtis Hirsch, we poured hours into this 600-page behemoth to get you ready for this upcoming season. You can use promo code SHARP5 to get $5 off on that book. You can also use that same code SHARP5 and get $5 off the 2025 draft kit. I've been cranking out the 2025 positional tiers all week, the most in-depth positional write-ups you can find in this space. So please check those out. And with that, I'm bringing in a good friend, Ian Hartitz, senior fantasy football analyst at Fantasy Life. I've had 2 chances to introduce you and haven't even talked about the news you guys dropped at Fantasy Life. Do you want to share what's going on at Fantasy Life?
Oh, just the cool new website, Guillotine League. Shout out. Bunch of cool stuff going on. Yeah, man. Hell yeah. Fantasy Life show. Check us out. Or is there something else I'm missing?
I mean, didn't you guys just have where you raised $7 million?
Yeah, $7 million. So that was cool.
$7 million.
LeBron James investor. Shout out. I actually finally had it's funny, like every now and then we get these few things, and like that's when my friends will reach out and be like, "Oh, that's your company," right? Because otherwise they're just like, "What is it that you do here again?"
I love it. And you can check out Ian on the Fantasy Life show, which will be live Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern, Fridays at noon Eastern throughout the end of the season. If you haven't caught the first 2 parts of the show, me and Ian are dropping our confidence rankings on NFL offenses for fantasy football. To give you a recap, we have 11 teams to go. We have in our elite tier, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Baltimore Ravens. In the very good tier, we have the Buffalo Bills, followed by the Kansas City Chiefs and the Washington Commanders. In our good tier, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Miami Dolphins, the Arizona Cardinals, the Atlanta Falcons, and the Dallas Cowboys. In our fine tier, the Chargers, Bears, Colts, and the Jets. In our bad but optimistic tier, we have the Panthers and the Seahawks. And in our good luck tier, it's the Giants, Steelers, Titans, and Browns. We have a nice even look. Look, the way we've been doing this, it's nice and even, right? Parity looks good here. We have 11 more teams to go. This is shaping up, I think, pretty well as a fun exercise. Let's start things off with the Detroit Lions, a team that has all the player personnel we love. They're rolling back all the offensive skill players that we came to love. They have some moving parts with Ben Johnson going to take over the Chicago Bears. Frank Ragnow retires. Kevin Zeitler leaves in free agency. I'm still going to have a hard time not backing these skill players based on talent alone. What say you?
Yeah, and I mean, the defense should be at a minimum healthier, and they did look like they had the potential to be pretty good, earlier on in last year, Aiden Hutchinson. But man, coming back from that nasty injury, you can't exactly guarantee that they're going to be incredible. And as much as Ben Johnson being gone could hurt, maybe Aaron Glenn not being there is also not going to be ideal. But I'm with you, man. I mean, Jared Goff, again, just because he doesn't run, we're not exactly expecting him to repeat the top 10 heights. But last year, in terms of EPA per dropback, was better than even anything we ever saw him do with Sean McVay and the Rams. So Goff playing the best football of his career. Obviously, our one true sun god, Amon-Ra St. Brown, consensus, top 10 receiver. Jameson Williams, someone who, I think deservedly so, is going in that low-end wide receiver 2 range. Even if Laporta is in the tight end 1, he's still pretty consistently tight end 4. Love both the running backs. I mean, as much as we want to say Gibbs has RB1 overall upside if something happens to Montgomery, the inverse is pretty close to being true too, man. I don't think we'd be putting DeMont number 1 the same way we would be putting Gibbs there if he had the whole backfield. But 2 years ago, I should say, when Gibbs did miss time.
But he would be like in Jonathan Taylor territory.
That's what I'm saying. Top 10, if not even top 5, depending on the matchup. So again, so many great players, littered around. I'm going to say ahead of Baltimore because of some of the pass game options. I can't quite get them past the Bengals.
I would agree with all of that. You have the anchors between the Gibbs and the sun god, but Goff is still a guy you want to draft more as like your QB2 and play matchups with, right? Like he's still not a guy you want to play every week because the rushing. We expect the touchdowns to come down a little bit too for Goff this year. So I think that's kind of the tiebreaker, and then Higgins over Jameson. But you do have the Laporta factor. I think they're both pretty. I think if you really wanted to push back me on Lions or Bengals, I would be like, all right, whatever. I think this is just one where we're not going to linger. We're going to put them up there.
Defensive difference as well. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. The just overall pass value for the Bengals just significantly higher. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars next, which is kind of a fun one. Liam Cohen coming over to coach the Jaguars. Could he get the best out of, what we've had to Trevor Lawrence this point, which is not to say a lot. Brian Thomas Jr., big breakout. We have a backfield kind of mess right now. It's very messy on paper. They draft Travis Hunter. How much, offense is he going to play? And then, does someone like Diami Brown or Brenton Strange break out as a late round pick here? So how do you feel about the Jaguars outlook?
Feel like as much as I'm feeling the Bears because we got Ben Johnson and all these offensive upgrades. Look, I like Travis Hunter and everything. I'm not quite there with him being a Justin Jefferson level prospect. Maybe I'm wrong on that. We'll see what happens. But man, if he's not going to be a full-time player, all of a sudden it's Brian Thomas Jr. is really your one alpha in this passing attack. Good for Liam Cohen, man. When I watch Bucky Irving reversing the field, breaking 6 tackles, I'm not exactly like, oh, man, what a brilliant play call by Liam Cohen there. When I'm watching Mike Evans have another 1,000 yards, I've seen him do that with and without Liam Cohen. Chris Godwin doing his thing. So, look, Liam Cohen, I'm willing to give him, the fact that he is a good play caller, a good offensive coordinator and everything. But, man, just saying that he's going to take a supporting cast like, if we had to rank every single NFL offense independent of the play callers, are the Jags cracking the top 16? I don't know, man. I think they probably be right around average. So I think same tier as the Bears and, these other squads makes sense. I personally, though, think the Bears are a more complete overall team, and I like the talents more. So I would say what tier is that? Good? I think that's fair.
Fine. Yeah, fine tier.
Fine tier.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Brian Thomas Jr., this is just how can you have any confidence level in any of these guys? I have been more on the pro side of Travis Hunter just because of what he's shown us so far. Mm-hmm. Like he's, Like he's someone I don't want to bet against, I should say.
That's fair.
But from a confidence, like from a fantasy point scoring perspective, like we still need a pretty pure run out, because when you look at like kind of the history of these wide receiver tandems, because people always talk about like when these guys finish as wide receiver ones together, usually it's they do in totality, but like on a week to week basis, it's not. You still do have an alpha and a layout, an alpha and kind of like a beta guy. And I still think if you lay Brian Thomas Jr.'s outlook for 2025 only, at least for now, versus Travis Hunter's, and you compare that to like Jamar Chase versus a T. Higgins, a Tyreek Hill versus a Jalen Waddle, I still think he become like Travis Hunter still more the B side of that. And so that's what has made Travis Hunter a tougher bet. Like when you even compare him to like a guy like Tet McMillan, right? Like Tet McMillan, I just have a lot more confidence in how many targets he's going to have versus a guy like Travis Hunter. It could be different, based on what they do with each of them, but Brian Thomas Jr. is the only guy I have any real confidence like drafting at cost in this Jaguars offense. And I know the running backs are cheap, and I've taken my shots on these guys too, just to see where the hell it takes us, just because they're so cheap.
Yeah.
But I don't have any confidence in these guys either. So like,
and I wouldn't call it a great backfield, from a real life talent perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I have probably more the guy I have probably the most confidence from a best ball perspective is Tank Bigsby, but in the season long stance, like you getting Tank Bigsby right every week, good luck. Good. So, I mean, I think that if we're gonna put them in fine because we like the players, do we even put them behind the Jets?
Man. Oh no.
Because Fields over Lawrence.
Lawrence.
Brian Thomas Jr. is ahead of Garrett Wilson, but it's not wide. And then Breece Hall over the running backs. Is Brenton Strange give him a tiebreaker over Mason Taylor? Like, where are we putting?
That's a wash. Oh my goodness. I think they had got to be behind the Jets. Oh God, this is going to be the one that gets people angry, though, Reeves.
Well, I think you made a great point, though. I mean, the offensive, the Liam Cohen factor just carries a lot of weight. But I think when we talk ourselves through it, like you said, Mike Evans proven player before, Chris Godwin proven player before. Do we really believe that one of these guys is going to be Bucky Irving in this backfield? If you do, then you should be making that bet in every single draft, right?
Right. No, I think, and again, who's to say the Jets couldn't be a little bit like the Lions? That's the assumption we're making here. The Jaguars are going to all of a sudden become like the Buccaneers. So Jets obviously try to get their, own wonderkin, if you will, in Eskenberger, whatever, how the hell you say his last name.
Yeah, and I think they have to be behind the Chargers because Ladd and McConkey's ADP is close enough to where it's not like a significant push, and then you would choose Hampton over any running back that they have, and Herbert and Lawrence are a definite wash.
Big three for the Jets are clearing the big three for the Jags. I think it's fun.
Yeah, that's one. So we're putting the Jaguars in the fine tier behind the Chargers, behind the Bears, behind the Colts, behind the Jets. Definitely a lot of vitriol. Will probably come from that too as well. We got another good team though coming up. And it's the Rams, who are a fun team, because it's another team that has a concentrated usage tree. I believe they upgraded it from, Devontae Adams to Cooper Kupp. I think he's a seamless fit, for the role Kupp had and potentially being an upgrade on it. He fits the red zone role. Kyren Williams, we're in year 3 now of us like fading Kyren Williams. Is that what we're doing? It's going to be a yearly thing. The guy that has 30 touchdowns the past 2 years. Looks like we're doing that again. Puka's locked in up top. I mean, this is just a team that is very strong from a fantasy stance to bet on, though.
I mean, we have 3 stars based on, where we are really taking these guys right now. So I think that would be ahead of Fine, probably. At Stafford, someone honestly spike as well. Like, they're definitely in the good tier. You look at them kind of versus the Dolphins, I think is where it gets close. But man, I might even prefer them over Tampa Bay. Rams are really good, man. And honestly, I think they're not a dark horse because they just won their division. But if they make it out of the NFC, man, I wouldn't be shocked. They had the ball at the Eagles' 21-yard line, minute 25 left, 1st and 10. Unfortunately, couldn't get it done. So I think the top of the good tier because we feel better about, the volume being concentrated at running back and wide receiver alike. I'm with you based on what we saw from Adams last year. Honestly, I was surprised going back and watching him, like how good he was still after the catch and the releases. So don't think he's washed at all. I think the Rams told us that with how quickly they let Cooper Kupp leave the building.
And your guy, Demarcus Robinson, is that little pivot route is out of the offense. That's going to be Devontae Adams.
That's true, man. So we'll see if Kyren gets as many carries inside the 5. I will give Kyren a little bit of slack too, because look, I've been one to point out, his piss poor efficiency numbers, but it's one of these things where they had so many injuries across the offensive line, and Kyren literally 1 year removed from having, north of 5 yards per carry and stuff. So one of these things where, they drafted Jarquez Hunter, they drafted a running back in 8 straight drafts, people. So we'll see. I think there's a chance that Kyren does get an extension before the season, and if that's the case, man, all of a sudden people are going to be lining up to draft this dude. As the RB1 he's been for the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, it's you look at the way McVay's played his rookie running backs anyways, Kyren included. I know Kyren had lower draft capital, but I mean, these guys don't get a lot of opportunities. And I don't think it's a surprise Blake Corum didn't get a lot of opportunities is what I'm saying, because, Darrell Henderson didn't get a lot of opportunities. Cam Akers had the most opportunities in the Sean McVay offense as a rookie, but he had 157 carries. I don't think it's shocking that, Blake Corum, who they drafted with higher draft capital in a worse class than Jarquez Hunter. So,
and they said amazing things about Blake after they drafted him, because the Rams say amazing things about everyone. Teams.
Well, what teams draft a player and dunk on him?
Yeah, right.
We didn't want to draft that dude. We thought, it turns out, he sucks. Like,
we have a plan for Terrence Ferguson. I hope so. You just used day 2 draft capital on him. So last point is, again, we've seen this going back to Gurley and even Cam Akers and stuff. But I went ahead and last year I looked at the percentage of games in which a team gave any of their running backs, 60%, 75%, 90% of snaps. The Rams gave Kyren 75% plus snaps in 94% of their games. No other team was even at 65%. That was the Bengals. So when we talked about Chase Brown earlier and you were like, nah, Chase isn't going to be getting that 90% snap route again, I think you're right. I don't think he will. Kyren really might, man. And at that point, who cares if your efficiency is bad? You're never leaving the field.
Right, exactly. And I think when you look at the Rams, they have a potential RB1. They have a potential wide receiver 1, a potential another top 20 wide receiver, even if Stafford's more of a QB2 streamer, super flex guy. That almost walking through that makes me want to say we probably should have the Dolphins hire for Achane and Tyreek Hill run out, but it does take a little guesswork, and we did see the floor. I do think they're very similar to the Dolphins, though, in terms of RB1, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, and then usable quarterback. I think they're very comparable.
You can even argue, man. I mean, their top core is better than the Commanders or Chiefs.
I would agree with that too. Do we put them in very good?
I think we could put them at the end of very good. I trust McVay enough.
I honestly would be okay putting it ahead of the Commanders.
Yeah. I mean, hell, the Rams have the top 3 earliest drafted guys, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it.
All right.
We'll give the Chiefs the benefit of the doubt, but
all right. So we actually are. We're going to put the Rams in very good behind the Bills and Chiefs ahead of the Commanders. Yeah. I mean, even us walking through that, it's like, yeah, the Dolphins might be the team we go back to and say, like, maybe that was the one we should have had up in this area too. But we are moving on because, I've taken up your afternoon here. And we've got the Raiders. Pete Carroll's in town. Chip Kelly's in town, the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL right now. They draft Ashton Jeanty. They trade for Geno Smith. They draft Jack Besh and Dante Thornton. Raiders, where are we slotting them?
Dude, early Vegas implied lines, 27th ranked scoring offense in the NFL. And the fact that we have 2 guys going inside the top 20 picks, one of those is very wrong. And, man, shout out Chip Kelly. Appreciate you bringing the natty back home to Columbus. But I don't know, Reeves. Like, the UCLA years didn't exactly go great for this dude. Kind of got ran out of the NFL. I'm not immediately going to be like, oh, my God, Chip Kelly's about to change this offense based on him getting 30-plus points per game out of probably the best, most talented, roster in all of college football. So, again, honestly, some of the pace stuff, Ohio State ran a very deliberate, slow-paced offense last year. Maybe that was a Ryan Day, Ohio State decision, and Chip Kelly's still obsessed with trying to get his plays out there. But I'm wary of using 2014, 2015 numbers and assuming that's what Chip Kelly's going to be doing this year. So, love Geno and everything. Getting up there a little bit, not exactly the least turnover-prone quarterback in the NFL. And, not exactly convinced this Raiders offensive line is going to bring out the best in anyone involved. So Jeanty's got all the volume in the world. Bowers, even if you want to say that he's priced, shouldn't be priced ahead of McBride or Kittle, to the extent that he is, we also agree he's, an easy top 3 tight end. So those 2 enough are keeping them away from, the bad but optimistic tier. Like, they should be in the tier with the Chargers and those guys. Could they be at the top of that one? Or do you think they're enough to be at the end of good?
Yeah, I mean, are they top heavy enough where Jeanty and Bowers, and then you just have Jacoby Myers as a fine dude?
He's had back-to-back wide receiver 2 seasons as well.
Yeah,
Kobe.
Yeah, and Bowers is a guy, like, my stance on Bowers is I typically don't play fantasy football aggressive with tight end anyways, but I'm also just not going to fade the only 2-time Mackey Award winner in college football history that came and caught 100 passes as a rookie. I'm not going to be like, that dude is not good either. We clearly know he's talented. When you look at Jeanty too, like, I think his ADP makes sense. I don't click on it a lot because I've been more bullish on Christian McCaffrey than some.
Yeah.
But when you look at the running backs that have gone as top 15 picks over the past 10 years, they've all largely been successful picks. Like, we have very few bricks there. The only guy that was like true brick was Dalvin Cook, and he tore his ACL. Yeah. Then you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who disappointed, but like, no one's putting Jeanty in like the Clyde Edwards-Helaire tier. Like, the guys he stacks up against are the Bijan Robinsons, the Saquon Barkleys, the Christian McCaffreys, and Ezekiel Elliott's in terms of prospect profiles. And all those guys turned out to be really good picks. You can say, hey, Bijan Robinson was a disappointment in his rookie year in terms of where you're drafting him, but Bijan Robinson also split work with Tyler Algier his rookie year, who on the Raiders is doing, like, who is Ashton Jeanty? Who? Sincere McCormick? Like, it's like, no. So, dude, like,
even Trent Richardson, the biggest bust ever, was still the RB5 as a rookie in PPR points per game because he got force-fed the football. So I had to go back and literally all the way, and this one's hilarious, 2010 CJ Spiller got top 10 draft capital, played 14 games, and only had 98 touches. Shout out Fred Jackson for leading the charge there. So I'll say this, man. Jeanty and Bowers, I think, beat the Chargers. Do we like that 1-2 punch more than the Cowboys?
I think I would put them behind the Chargers, and for this is why. I would say, if, again, not a fireworks podcast, but if Omarion Hampton was to have, if Najee Harris wasn't available, I think the pros of the Chargers are better than JT's pros. I think the offensive line and this is better than the for the Chargers, and I think the team scoring environment is better for the Chargers. And I think
I like Hribar more. Yeah.
And I also believe that in terms of the way I play fantasy football from a positional stance, like I would still side with McConkey, even though you having concerns about his volume. I still value the wide receiver over the tight end for fantasy football.
I'm cool with squeeze between the Bears and the Chargers.
Yeah. And that's what I think when people look at still will be kind of shocked, but I think it makes sense from a fantasy football stance because of where those two top guys are being drafted. Jacoby Myers being usable and potentially being a value at ADP, and then Geno Smith being also in the same streaming bucket, right? So I'm good with that as well. Let's move on to the Minnesota Vikings. Ooh. Didn't get to see JJ McCarthy last year. The 11 dropbacks in the preseason is all we got. He looked good on him. And there's 11 pass attempts, but still no sample size in the regular season in the NFL. We love Justin Jefferson. We like Jordan Addison. We like TJ Hawkinson. We like Aaron Jones. We like Jordan Mason. Vikings are an interesting team to talk about in terms of the context of this exercise.
I want to bet on McCarthy too, man. I mean, you just look at Kirk Cousins was setting career high marks when he was able to work with KOC. We had Nick Mullins posting, 3 straight top 15 finishes. The Pastronaut Josh Dobbs doing his thing. And that's before even getting to Sam Darnold, which probably could have just, opened with that and been done with the story. So McCarthy, man, can run. Hopefully that knee injury didn't take too much out of him, but he could argue he's the most fantasy-friendly quarterback of that group of guys. So Addison could have that, early season suspension. We'll see what happens. I guess he couldn't use the, sick dog excuse twice in a row. Otherwise, maybe could have gotten out of things. So unfortunately, the backfield is like middle-class man's Detroit, potentially. Maybe that's giving him a little bit too much credit. But I feel like Jones and Mason, low-key, could both slide in as lower-end RB2s, like in a best-case run-out, and then either guy could actually take over and really, go more for an RB1 finish if the other one misses time. So I think that's priced in appropriately. They have added some real resources to the offensive line, pair of, free agent signings with the Colts, drafted Donovan Jackson. So this is one of these situations where, similar to the Bears, like I feel like when you looked at the warts that the team had last year, they addressed them enough, with player personnel moves for me to be happy about it. So I would have to get another look at our tier list here. Man, I don't know if we can go all the way up to very good, but I think they definitely deserve to be in the good group.
I think I would put him after the Dolphins, just because of the Achane, Tyreek runouts, potentially Waddle. I think they got to be over the Cardinals, though, right? I
think that's a perfect spot.
You have Justin Jefferson. We might get usable QB2 stuff out of JJ McCarthy. We still have Jordan Addison and Hawkinson. I'm with you. I've long thought that Jordan Mason. What's the difference between Jordan Mason and Caleb Johnson?
Good question, man.
Mason and I get better. I don't see any reason to draft Caleb Johnson at it. Neither cost isn't like overly dramatic, and Mason's been coming up, but I think all the pros that people are making for Caleb Johnson exists for Jordan Mason.
Yeah, we're even getting more specific.
And he's going to be the goal line back to start. Aaron Jones, one of the worst goal line backs in the league last year, but then the addition of Jordan Mason just allows Aaron Jones to be Aaron Jones again. Yeah. The backups for the Vikings pushed more workload onto Aaron Jones than I believe that they intended, especially at his age. In the back half of the year, he faded and picked up injuries. This allows him to be Aaron Jones again.
I'm just I'm picturing that like Interstellar meme where he's just, no, don't do it. That was me drafting Ty freaking Chandler too often last year. So certainly feeling better about Mason this time around. No, I think that's the right spot for him.
Football season is right around the corner, and there's no better way to lock in your fantasy dominance early than with Best Ball on DraftKings, where you draft once and ride your roster all season long. And right now, DraftKings is giving all customers a can't-miss offer. Draft one, get one. Enter a lineup in the $15 million Best Ball contest for just $20, and you'll score another Best Ball ticket to play free for a share of $15 million, giving you a second shot to win big. It's easy. Just draft your dream team once, no weekly management required, and let your top scorers automatically start each week. Across the whole season, every breakout star, every clutch play, every touchdown will count towards your quest for a share of $15 million. And if you're looking for someone to plug into your best ball lineup, there's nothing better to buy than year 2 wide receivers. Looking at wideouts that have been selected outside of the top 24 based on years in the league, second-year wideouts have delivered the highest hit rates for beating their ADP and delivering wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 scoring seasons. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now to draft your $20 best ball lineup to play for a share of $15 million and get a second ticket to play free for a share of $15 million. That's 2 chances to win big without ever setting your lineup again. Draft one, get one. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. The Patriots are next. They're going to be a fun team to talk about. You know, obviously Drake May is like everyone's favorite player, but it's interesting. Every show I've done, Ian, this year, like everyone likes what the Patriots have done, but their ADPs never move.
No.
Like they keep getting steam, but no one changes. So
yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. Did you have something on that?
I don't think we can get them up there and find because, who are we going out of our way for? Nobody. They might have the lowest ADP of these guys. I mean, bad but optimistic feels weird, but again, more so fantasy, man. Like we like Drake May, sure, but we like him as that QB2 who runs, so we can get more upside out of him from that. Ramondre Stevenson, Travion Henderson, like we're hoping that's going to be split, preferably in Henderson's favor. I'm old enough to remember Josh McDaniels' backfield as being a freaking nightmare, man. I mean, good on him for finally featuring Josh Jacobs in 2022, but let's not pretend like this has been an easy backfield to predict over the years. And Stephon Diggs is someone who I've been a little bit more, encouraged by than most, but even then, it's kind of like the Calvin Ridley thing we were talking about. Like, we're just hoping it's going to be a veteran in a passing game without too much else going on. Yeah, okay, Kyle Williams is fine. Kyle Williams, man, there's a chance this dude doesn't even start, all right? I would like to think he wins out. Sure. But Kendrick Bourne's making money. Mac Hollins is like a progress stopper, the ultimate guy to just kind of leave out there. And Demario Douglas potentially in the slot. Hunter Henry, 0 career seasons with 700 yards. Still makes me mad every time I have to recite that stat. So I think they're in that. We're optimistic because I do think they can take some steps forward. Yes. I wouldn't put them in the bottom tier, but even then, man, like the number one fighter from the Panthers and the Seahawks, like we're taking Walker and Chuba over anyone the Patriots can offer.
I think I agree with you. I think they go, and we're optimistic because we like Drake May. We like kind of the trajectory of where this team's going. Josh McDaniels. There's a reason Josh McDaniels keeps getting a chance to fail as a head coach, and I think he is out of those lifelines. But it's because he can coach some offense, right? Like he has. Even at stops at like his last stop at the Raiders, they had one season where they punched completely over their heads that year with Derek Carr as well.
Some of the stuff he did with Cam Newton too is encouraging if they do.
And that was a very shell of Cam Newton. Yeah. It was very rough. So we're encouraged about that. We do think that's going to be a backfield split. We hope someone would like maybe come out of it. But I honestly think it makes a sense when you put these guys together, especially when you think about where Travion Henderson operated and was at his best. It allowed, because where Ramondre struggled, receiving game and creating explosives. Yeah. Where does Travion Henderson excel? Receiving game, creating explosives. But is Ramondre still the goal line back? And we don't get that run out with one of these guys. We're still, hoping Diggs bounces back off of an ACL at his age. Yeah. We're hoping Kyle Williams can emerge. We're hoping Hunter Henry could score some more touchdowns and have some more yards. But like, none of these guys are being really drafted as locked-in starters outside of maybe Henderson at Hope. And I can argue that I think Henderson maybe is a little bit overdrafted, but I get why he's going there because of the upside outcome.
Sure.
Because we went through a year where Devin Achane and Jahmyr Gibbs just were too good per touch, and we're still good fantasy backs. So I get why Henderson's going there, but I'm with you. I think we're optimistic, but it could be still.
Yeah. And it's Mike Vrabel. I think he does a leader of men, tough coach. Obviously, he's someone that's going to make this team better overnight in a similar manner. I think as a Jim Harbaugh. And the defense, man, they got some dudes and they spent some money there. Milton Williams, Harold Landry, Robert Spillane, Carlton Davis. You got Christian Gonzalez, who should already, I think, be considered one of the better young up and coming quarterbacks in the league. So it's going to be, I think, a much improved team. Look, though, you don't have to just take our words for it. Vegas only has them as the 10th lowest scoring offense in the league right now, ahead of next year. So better than last year, but when last year was arguably the worst offense in the league, man, we can make a nice improvement and still not be exactly up with these other guys.
Right. That brings us to the Houston Texans, a team that, arguably one of the more disappointing fantasy outcomes, I think, last year. But Again, suffered a lot of injuries at wide receiver. It was a rotating door at wide receiver. One of the big reasons everyone was kind of in on them was like these three wide receivers, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs. Well, it turns out those guys didn't play together, at all. Like really, of course, the season, the offensive line was a mess. It on paper, it looks worse. We'll see. There's a low bar to clear to be better because of how bad it was, but they are just throwing guys at this offensive line, like guys that they've had stops at multiple places. CJ Stroud, a guy through 2 years, has 2 weeks as QB7 or higher.
Oof.
Joe Mixon has a little more competition with Nick Chubb. Another guy I think that fits that bill of like they probably didn't want to give him as much work as they had to last year, but still a solid back. We know what we're getting out of Joe Mixon. Nico Collins, like where are we putting the Texans here? They're going to be a team I think is probably interesting here.
This is the one where I have a tougher, we talked through the Vikings and some of these squads and the Bears. Like, okay, not only have they changed things, but we have reason to believe they changed things for the better based on what we've seen. I don't get that here. Is Nick Caley spending 2 years in Los Angeles with Sean McVay? Does that make him Sean McVay all of a sudden? Because other than that, man, he's a tight end fullbacks coach for the Patriots over the years. So some people, are super high on Caley. Okay, fine, whatever. They fired their offensive line coach and they just promoted their previous assistant offensive line coach. And every other addition is a bunch of guys who PFF says were not good last year or they're old coming off of injury. I know some people roll their eyes at the PFF grades and stuff. If you out there just have it in your head and you have this great rating system for offensive linemen, you are better than me. Okay. So I do think that, again, we shouldn't be the be all end all, but again, it's a situation where I'm not convinced the biggest hole of the offensive line is going to be better. CJ Stroud was the QB 28 in fantasy points per game last year. Like that is just so miserable, man. Even when you kind of fix it up a little bit, take out the week 18 game, he only goes up to QB 25 if you're doing a better job with it. So Stroud, we can't really have any confidence in. Joe Mixon had some real highs. He was actually RB2, I believe, behind only Saquon before falling off in the fantasy playoffs, but he's a little bit banged up right now. You bring in Nick Chubb. I'm guessing that wasn't for completely no reason. Not loving that backfield. I've drafted Nico Collins as much as possible. I have him as my wide receiver 4. I think he could finish as the overall wide receiver 1. So that is our poster child, our, sky high fighter. After that, Jaden Higgins, Christian Kirk, these are guys that sure we like enough in a vacuum, but not enough to consistently rank inside of our top 50. So we have one dog, man. And I think the offense is with only one dog. We've been putting in bad, but optimistic.
Yeah, I was trying to make a case like how close I did to the Cowboys because you have Nico and Lamb and then just question marks. But then Pickens, you're probably going to bet on Pickens easily over Kirk and Jaden Higgins.
Yeah.
They have Mixon though, but to beat the backfield. So I'm probably a little more optimistic on them just because of in terms of either we're too high on the Cowboys or because I think that it's a similar layout, right? Like we know, Dak's not going to run. Yeah. We already went through that.
Stroud was great as a rookie, so we've given Dolphins and the teams benefit of the doubt going back a year, so they should at least be in fine. I don't think I can put them in good though.
Okay, do we put them ahead of the Chargers in fine? Nico's over Ladd to Herbert and Stroud to me is for fantasy purposes in the same tier. Like they're dudes that are gonna do similar things.
I like Hampton more than Mixon.
But I don't how wide. Again, not a fireworks podcast. He's gonna keep saying that's the theme of this show.
I don't know. I guess I'm a little bit lower on him than you, man. I'm just
okay. No, I want to defer to the guest. Are you putting them? I put him ahead of the Raiders.
Colts. I put him ahead of the Colts, behind the Bears. Honestly, I just don't.
Okay.
I think that number 2 is one of the weakest of this tier. And again, just the changes from last year. I see the Bears making changes that I'm actually confident will improve this overall roster. The Texans, man, maybe Nick Caley just is the man. Maybe they know exactly what they're doing on the offensive line. But just based on what we can quantifiably say, I'm far more confident the Bears changes were better. So give me them.
All right. We're going to slot them in the fine tier. For everyone listening here, behind the Chargers, behind the Raiders, behind the Bears, ahead of the Colts, ahead of the Jets, ahead of the Jaguars in that fine tier. We got 4 teams left.
Ooh.
We're moving through here. We got 3 good ones left too. The Denver Broncos are next. This one is very interesting to me. This is a team that definitely punched above its weight class last year. But when you start to go under the hood with this team, especially facing a harder schedule, I feel like there's a lot more fragility to this team than a team like the Commanders, especially from a fantasy football sense. I need you to talk me into Bo Nix at ADP.
Well, he just had the 5th best rookie season ever in fantasy points per game. He does have the 400 plus rushing yard, can score 4 or 5 rushing touchdowns there. And then it's just Sean Payton holding his hand and, just making things happen basically everywhere else. So the playmakers, the wide receiver and tight end room, I still don't think we would exactly say it's a top 10 group, but it is improved. We got Evan Ingram there, which is better than Adam Troutman, I guess. Great.
He's going to get drafted as a tight end 1.
Yeah, and I think he could, pull off those numbers. Obviously, Pat Bryant, long considered a reach. RJ Harvey wasn't exactly going in round 2 mocks either. So you can call them reaches, but you still added players that, with top 100 draft capital. Mm-hmm. I think we can, again, say a little bit better than last year. Maybe Marvin Mims finally gets a bigger role. So, again, they've made enough steps up. The offensive line is really good, man, and they are returning, I believe, all 5 starters. So I think there's enough going on with Bo Nix where, again, not exactly a game manager. He had the longest completed air yard pass last year, that bomb to Mims against the Bengals. I thought he improved a good amount last year. So I hear you. I haven't been going super far out of my way because a lot of times in best ball we're trying to stack too. And when I'm not drafting a bunch of Cortland Sutton, I get to Bo Nix, and I'm usually not just.
Well, Nix goes ahead of he goes ahead of every receiver except for Sutton. Sutton's like one of the back end guys.
Yeah, and I'm not drafting Sutton, so I'm usually not starting off, Broncos things with Nix. Maybe I should be doing that a little bit more. So I still think he deserves to be in that top 10 conversation. Like, why, not to get into Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams, but like based on what we saw last year, man, Bo Nix should be clearing that.
I do still have him ahead of Caleb Williams. My concern again was he was such a value pick last year, and that's what's pushing him up. But just the spike weeks really weren't there. He only had 2 games higher than QB8. They were completely identifiable. We all played him in DFS those 2 weeks against the Falcons and Panthers. Nice. He had 8 games last season against defenses in the front half of the league before that week 18 game against the Chiefs backups. He was the QB 18 in average weekly scoring those weeks. We saw them when they had to punch up in the playoffs. Like, this offense still so I'm a little concerned with them making the schedule jump. They have our 26th ranked passing schedule. I would like to see just a little bit more of a higher ceiling, because to me, I don't want to draft like a back end QB1 at back end QB1 prices, right? Like, those guys are available. Like, those guys, that's the opposite of Bo Nix. He's the opposite of the argument. We were drafting him as in the JJ McCarthy zone last year, right? Like, we're hoping that JJ McCarthy's this year's Bo Nix, right? Like,
we have McCarthy there. Jordan Love's only 1 year removed from a top 5 finish, and he's going in that range. Even Justin Herbert, even though we are expecting more of a run-heavy offense and this and that, like, that's a dude with top 5 finishes on his resume as well. So I hear you from that standpoint. Yeah, because once you get past Burrow, honestly, based on what we've seen from Mahomes, like from Mahomes to QB 18.
My argument, it's just unfortunate that Bo Nix in terms of ADP is that guy. Like, he's the next guy in ADP, because it's not so much an anti-Bo Nix argument. It's an you shouldn't be spending capital at quarterback at that point argument, just because that pocket is so deep.
I like the first or last mindset of quarterback. If I'm paying up, it's for the dual threat aliens. If I'm not, then go ahead and just give me the discount Bo Nix.
So it's not me. I'm not really trying to tear down Bo Nix, the player. It's just unfortunate where his current ADP settles at, because, like I said, I don't want to be drafting a back end QB1 as a back end QB1. Like, I'm going to get one of those guys eventually, or I'm going to stream to my way. Sutton is fine. I have no problem really with Sutton, and Ingram is fine. RG Harvey, get the upside argument, but like, how can we really kind of move them over some of these guys, like these teams that we already kind of hit on, right? Like,
it's tough because they don't.
Like, we just walked through the Texans, right? Like, what's the difference between this team?
I'm more confident in the line of scrimmage and just the core. Like Sean Payton, give me him over. What we got going on there.
Oh yeah.
Bo Nix just a more fancy friendly quarterback. I keep him ahead of the Texans. The Bears is where it gets close. We don't have the.
I would put them ahead of the Bears, and the reason why is because Sutton is at least a projectable target earner, where the Bears could all cannibalize each other.
That's true. We got 2 tight ends in Chicago.
Same with Ingram. And then RJ Harvey and DeAndre Swift, like, I'll at least probably more often than not just take the unknown with RJ Harvey.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the fact that these Broncos haven't had a good pass catching running back with Peyton, and they've still been 4th and 1st in receptions over these past 2 years, tells you, I think, all you need to know. So yeah, I'm with you there. Raiders.
We going over Bears, but are we going over Raiders because the Raiders are so funny to me, because you see that Raiders logo and you think of the Raiders stigma, but like,
what are they doing there? But they got those 2 big guys.
They got those 2 dudes.
And Jacoby could outscore Sutton. So, man.
I think they got to be behind him, right?
Reeves, from a scale of 1 to 10, how shocked would you be if Geno Smith outscored Bo Nix?
Like a 6, a 5 or a 6. Man.
That's what I'm saying. Like it would be surprising, but I wouldn't be like screaming about it. Let's put it behind the Raiders.
All right, there it is. So we're putting the Broncos in the fine tier, behind the Chargers, behind the Raiders, ahead of the Bears, Texans, Colts.
One last thing, kind of tiebreaker we've been using. That Broncos defense is nasty. So again,
and that's the I have the harder time seeing like the pass volume fully run out. They were middle of the league in pass volume last year. I think, and they improved the run game. They actually improved the defense on paper, which is hilarious because they were already awesome. So we'll see if the pieces, but they actually added more pieces to the defense that were good. We have 3 teams left. They're the Packers, they're the 49ers and Saints. Do you just want to get the Saints out of the way, pull that band-aid off and not end the show on them?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Let's all right. Obviously, good luck to here, but you can argue they deserve we have Kamara not lining up the draft, but still in anyone's top 20. I think Olave is really good, but when you got Tyler Shuck thrown to him, who knows?
Yeah, I think the question is just they go behind or ahead of the Browns.
Yeah. I'm gonna say ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can get with that. We're not gonna go into anything else. We had 2 teams left, Packers, 49ers. Let's hit on the Packers here. The team that has, again, like that, a very good wide receiver. We know the guys are good.
Yeah.
How does it fit together? We like Josh Jacobs. I'm with you. I think Jordan Love just had an injury-filled season. I think when you look at what they were doing when Jordan Love was healthy, and granted, this is another team that like they're not going to be a team that is a top 10 in pass rate. They just aren't. But they did have a 60% drop back rate in the games Jordan Love played healthy before that groin injury kind of put things on the back burner.
Yeah.
I'm in on Jordan Love at his price point. I'm optimistic in the wide receivers. I know Jaden Reed is a good player, but his usage gets in the way. I'm optimistic on Tucker Kraft being a poor man's maybe George Kittle. I don't know. But the question is there enough elite pieces here to vault them into a very good offense?
I certainly trust LaFleur. I'm a little worried that even this backfield could become a little more committee-esque. Jacobs is going to be the guy, but he did run pure last year, man. Lloyd obviously drafted day 2 for a reason. He was barely even able to get on the field. Even A.J. Dillon, man, that neck injury. I know, guys, A.J. Dillon, they gave him 200-plus touches the previous 3 years, even when they had Aaron Jones there as well. So, again, I have Jacobs, I think, RB10. I'm not super concerned about it, but it could be enough for him to kind of drop off a little bit, not be that same top 8 guy. I like the talent too, but this is going to be one of the bigger, I think, discrepancies between real life and fantasy. Because I trust LaFleur and Love and them to put on a good offense, but like them versus the Cowboys have the better fantasy pieces.
Yep, they do.
I think at the end of good.
All right, I'm completely good with that too. End of good tier behind the Dallas Cowboys. Because I think, like you said, CD just wins out. And then the rest of the pieces, Pickens is the next drafted piece up between both teams, right? Yep. So,
well, you'd have Jacobs, but CD.
Well, I've been talking about CD, then Jacobs. CD beats Jacobs in terms of the ADP. Love and Dak are close enough. Yeah, I'm good at that.
Cool.
And then we're going to close on the 49ers, last year's, biggest disappointment in terms of injuries. They still have question marks on the offensive line. You're still banking on a 37-year-old Trent Williams to kind of hold that offensive line down. But when you look at like Vegas lines, they're projected to be a top 10 scoring offense. We believe in the, Kyle Shanahan system, CMC coming back. There's, some fragility. Where do you stand on the CMC kind of argument?
He's number 1 all time among running backs and PPR points per game. I'm going to keep drafting the dude in round 1, man. It's one of these. Yeah. Jonathan Taylor has missed more games the last 3 years than Christian McCaffrey. And I know that there's a difference in age and stuff like that. But I just feel like when we talk about there's a difference between being injury prone and actively injured. As long as CMC isn't entering the season with a big problem, man, then I'm just going to be, trusting with that guy. So again, I will admit that CMC has a higher injury risk than other running backs than Bijan Robinson, for example, but it's not 10 out of 10 versus 0 out of 10. So again, I think we just overweigh that sometimes. I'm in on CMC as I think he's my RB5 overall. I do prefer HM, but again, he's right there. The wide receivers, I mean, Ayuk's going to miss a little bit of time, it sounds like, but because of that, we can kind of consolidate things around Jennings and Pearsall, wide receiver 3 caliber. Kittle is one of my most drafted tight ends of the offseason, consensus top 3. And then Purdy, bro. Like, remember the conversation with Purdy even going into last year? It was like, oh, look, no Trent Williams and Debo for 3 weeks. They couldn't score more than 17 points. They took away everything last year.
Everything
last still year. Managed to put up QB 10 numbers. So I think Purdy is a pretty nice tiebreaker here, with some of these other teams. I'd be even down to potentially, given Kittle and CMC are legit elite option at the position. I think I prefer him over the Commanders. I would give the Rams the benefit of the doubt, I think.
Yeah, I think so too, because I think that's us showing some at least hesitancy and pricing into the CMC, the age stuff with Trent Williams, and then the kind of, unknown wide receiver rotation, even though I believe that, Jennings and Pearsall are good value picks where they are. I would absolutely say that that's a reasonable take on our part to put them here in the very good tier behind the Bills, Chiefs, Rams, and ahead of the Commanders. We have done it, all 32 teams. Let's run this down real quick. And I like this, the way this looks visually. This to me, the looks makes sense. We got a lot of parity here. We have our elite tier. We have the Eagles, followed by the Bengals, the Lions, and Ravens. And our very good tier, which I just ran down, Bills, Chiefs, Rams, 49ers, Commanders, followed by our good tier, Bucks, Dolphins, Vikings, Cardinals, Falcons, Cowboys, Packers. And then we go into our fine tier, which is our largest tier. The Chargers, the Raiders, the Broncos, the Bears, the Texans, the Colts, the Jets, and the Jaguars. The bad but optimistic tier, Panthers, Seahawks, Patriots. And then bringing it home, our good luck tier at the bottom, Giants, Steelers, Titans, Saints, Browns. Ian, now that we walk through this and you can take the 10,000-foot view and look at this thing, is there anything that you look back on and say, like, all right, we might have missed one on something?
I think the Cowboys are, oh man, CD does deserve, you know what? I think we're okay. I like it. The Cowboys are tough because I just don't believe in the run game and I'm worried about Dak, but CD is such an elite piece. We like Pickens. They're okay. Dolphins are the one where I agree. If we could even argue Dolphins ahead of Buccaneers, I think, based on just what we've seen, the kind of consolidated nature. I think the big 3 from the Dolphins top it.
Beat them. I'm going to put them there and move it at the end of the show because for tweet purposes, I would like for the to be the final results. I think we both agree that Achane over Bucky and then Tyreek, Waddle in combination over Evans in whatever plays out. I think that's the tie break for me there. So I like it. I think it looks good. This was really fun to do, man. I'm sorry it took so much of your time, but
come on.
I think it's be fun when this gets out in the streets. I think the people on YouTube will have a good time. Hopefully the audio listeners, still had a good time with us listening to and walking through the scenarios of all these teams as well. As a reminder, Ian is the senior football analyst at My Fantasy Life. You can find him at Fantasy Life Show live Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern, noon on Fridays throughout the course of the NFL season. Ian, is there anything else you want to plug here?
I think that covers it, man. You're just the man. Great chopping it up with you. I think it's I think I was here a couple years ago, but always great being on.
You infamously did a podcast from a pantry.
Oh, that's right, dude. What was so funny about that? So, guys, I'm lucky enough. My wife and I live in our own house now, but when we were more apartments, so when I visit my mom, I go down in the pantry, and it literally was just an office in the basement, and it was a pantry. But I was doing some stuff with Bleacher Report, and they were like, "Hey, can you hang some jerseys up in the background so it's not like mac and cheese?" I was like, yeah, very reasonable. Okay. So I hang up all these like old Allen Iverson kid jerseys and stuff. And I went from being ridiculed on every podcast, like, what are you recording out of a pantry? Reeves, same room. I just hung up 6 jerseys in the background. And all of a sudden people were going, "Oh, bro, 6 setup. I love what you've done with that." And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
But I love it. On the way out here, as a reminder, the 2025 Warren Sharp preview book is on sale at the site. Go check that out. You use promo code SHARP5, you get $5 off that. You use that same code SHARP5 to get $5 off the fantasy draft kit. I've been cranking out, the tiers all week this week, and we'll be contributing that all the rest of the season with different series every week. Thank you for the time. Training camps will be opening up, so look forward to some more actionable NFL news. Thanks to Ian. As usual, good luck everyone out there.